All right, we've had several requests on our YouTube channel and our Facebook user group to have a video about using Waves MultiRack with the XR18. And it's pretty simple. It works amazingly well. Keep in mind, Waves MultiRack and those plugins were typically only available for super high-end consoles like the Avid SC48 at about $25,000 to $28,000, and consoles even more expensive than that. But because a lot of the newer, lesser expensive digital mixers are coming with Firewire and USB multi-channel I/O, we can use those I/O cards to insert all of the Waves MultiRack plugins. So that's what I'm going to show you here today. And so if I wanted to insert an analog compressor on my analog console in the old days, I would plug in an insert cable, which would tap the signal just after the mic preamp. It would send my vocal signal out to the compressor, and then the return of the compressor would come back in on that insert cable and then feed that processed signal back down my channel strip and out the faders to be mixed. Well, we're doing the exact same thing with our USB recording interface option that comes with the XR18. So the first thing we have to do is some basic routing, and that's going to be over here in the routing tab, of course. By default, we're going to go ahead and have channel 16 go out the USB channel 16. Okay, that means it's going to appear over in Waves MultiRack on input 16. The USB return, in this case, is going to be on 16 as well. So those are default settings for a 1-to-1 matching on your ins and outs, 1-to-1, 2-to-2, 3-to-3, etc. So if we click over to Waves MultiRack, the first thing that you'll notice when you open up MultiRack is just a blank screen, and then you double click to add a rack. I've done that right here, and that is a mono in and a mono out rack. I've also created a mono in and a stereo out rack for the second part of this video, which will show you how to use it with a reverb unit. So in Waves MultiRack, the next thing you're going to want to do is route your ins and outs. And in this case, it's pretty simple. Again, we're 1-to-1. Channel 16 is sending its signal out the USB to channel 16. And as soon as I do that, of course, you'll see I'm sending signal into this unit. And then, of course, we want to send that signal out 16, and now it's coming back into my channel strip on 16. Now, don't get confused. This is not causing a feedback loop. This is exactly the same thing you were doing with an analog insert cable. You're coming out of the channel 16 into your analog compressor, and then you're putting it right back into channel 16 for further processing. So that's all we've done here is just set up this rack as an insert. Now, of course, we're going to be able to add our plugins here. And in this case, I have a channel strip. The first thing you'll notice is I've got quite a bit of EQ going on here, and it certainly doesn't seem like I'm hearing anything. So that's the next thing we need to look at. Is one of the most important parts to understand is in your system here, we are set up as a standard channel here. Well, we have to tell the channel, where am I getting my insert from? And it certainly isn't through the analog channel strip here. So on my microphone channel, I simply have to tell it that its input is coming from USB. And if I click over here, you'll immediately hear the EQ because it's now returning this process signal back through the USB card, and that's what I'm hearing. So let's go ahead and come over here and fix this EQ. We'll get rid of this boost. I did that just so it was obvious. And you can clearly see now that I've got bass roll-off all the way up here and full EQ function. I can come up here and do a little boost. Now I'm just going to show you an example on one channel. Of course, you're going to take that concept and typically just do a 1-to-1. If you've got 12 channels in your band and you want to have access to the plugins, you're going to set up 12 racks and you're going to go 1 in, 1 out, 2 in, 2 out, and so forth for all the channels in your band. And that would be the main way that you use your Waves MultiRack. The next one might be to create some auxiliary sends like you would a reverb or delay. Now the XR18 has got really great reverbs and delays and effects. It's honestly making Waves MultiRack almost not necessary. But if you've got some plugins that you think are superior or that you're used to, you're certainly going to want to use those. So let's take a look at that. So what I've got here is a second rack, and I've got a reverb set up on it. And in this case, I've got the effects send 1 coming in on 3, and I've got it returning on 17 and 18. Now we've got to set that up in the XR18 routing to get it to come over here and return. So let's look at that. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that the USB output, in our case, it's number 3. It's going to default right here, but I've chosen to use number 3 as the effects 1 send. And if you come down here, you'll see that I've got effects 1 send going out the USB insert patch, if you will, to match the 3 over here. And you'll also notice that I decided to use returns 17 and 18 for the effects 1. So let's just come over here to its input tab, and you'll see that effects 1 is getting its signal from the USB card, channel 17 and 18. And that's all we have to do. So we're sending effects, and let's remind you where those effects sends come from. That's going to be right here. So look what happens when I do this. I just turned my vocal up in the send for effects 1, and it came up over here on my Waves MultiRack. So effects send 1 is going out the USB card on channel 3. It's coming in on channel 3, and it's going out on 17 and 18. And then I have chosen for the effects 1 return to get its signal from USB channel 17 and 18, and it's now returning here. So I can unmute that, turn this up, and what we're hearing now is this reverb. I'll turn that off so you can hear that we are getting this reverb, and it's not coming from the XR18 reverb. But that's just a quick way to show you how to insert on a one-to-one basis for your channels, and also use some of the really nice routing options that are built into the XR18 to get creative and do more things. Now, there's one thing that is not programmed in to the XR18 yet, and I'm hoping that Behringer does this, and that is giving us a USB return function, and that would allow us to route out the left-right into Waves MultiRack, and then over here, click on USB to return that insert so that we can have master left-right with the USB insert option here, just like the channels and the buses have. All right, so that's a quick overview. If you have any questions, let us know on our YouTube channel, or come over and visit us on Facebook with the user group at Behringer XR.